Hi friends, I'm at the beach. And sometimes when I come to the beach, I suddenly get ideas for little videos I want to make. I think because I'm out in the fresh air and I've had a chance to move my body, and so I thought I would just make a little video for y'all. But I first want to show you where I'm at. All right, so I'm sitting on one of my favorite logs in Victoria. For those of you who don't know, I'm in Victoria, British Columbia. And I wanted to talk today about some of the benefits of a regular yoga practice that we don't often think of. And the reason this has kind of come to mind is because I'll get testimonials frequently from students, either via email or just things they say in classes or wherever. And usually what I do is I kind of capture them somewhere. I'll take a screenshot or I'll do something. And today, the project I was working on wasn't happening. And so I decided, I'm going to put those testimonials into a Google Doc so I can then add them to my website easily. And as I was reading them, I was just amazed how many of them were talking about benefits of yoga practice that we don't often think of, or that are less talked about or not promoted by sort of mainstream media. So, of course, I think we all know that yoga is sold as something to make you flexible, right? I think we all know that. And of course, then there's the stereotype. People will say, well, I'm not flexible, so I can't do yoga. That's like saying, I'm too dirty to have a shower. Like, we don't do the yoga because we're already flexible. We do the yoga to become more flexible. And I was not flexible when I started yoga at all. I struggled a lot with that, and I really got creative with props, which makes it easier for me to help those of you who are also not flexible. So we know that it's flexibility, right? Lots of people will come to yoga for flexibility or for strength. Strength is another one. Sometimes people come because of persistent pain. So whether it's like an actual injury, like a back pain injury or something like that, they've got persistent pain. And when I say pain, it might be pain from an injury, like a more serious pain that was acute at one point and is now persistent. Or it might be sort of just that nagging, tight, sore discomfort thing. Okay, so a funny story. One of my regular Zoom students, I was, teaching a class called back pain yoga, because that's one of the things that I specialize in is back pain. And, she said, well, I don't know if that class is for me because I don't have back pain. But then every time we do a Zoom class and I check in with everybody at the beginning, she would say, I've got this spot right back here, like just under my shoulder blades, which is your back. So that would count as back pain. So sometimes we think, I don't have persistent pain or I don't have back pain because maybe we don't have anything that's sharp, stabbing, or acute, but we've got this kind of persistent, nagging, area of tension or discomfort. So that is one of the benefits of yoga. So we know about these ones, right? We know about flexibility. We know about strength. We might or might not know that yoga can help with persistent pain, including some really chronic stuff that has just been lingering and lingering and lingering. I had a student who had this spot kind of in her neck and trapezius that had been bothering her for a couple years, and she went to physio and didn't really get much relief, and they had suggested chiropractic, which she didn't really want to do. And while we were doing our Zoom class, and we were doing one of our longer held sort of neck poses, she suddenly got this like pop of relief, not like a neck crack, but like her tissue just went and released. And she said that it hasn't come back since. So these are things that we might know of for yoga, right? Maybe we know we get more flexible. Maybe we know that we can get stronger, that we can relieve pain. You may have heard that it can help you calm down, so sort of serenity, peacefulness. That's also one that is fairly common. But what might not be as in the front of your mind when you think about yoga practice is your sleep. So many of my students are sleeping better through the night, falling asleep easier, waking up more rested when they have a regular yoga practice. So sleep is a benefit that sometimes people don't think of when they think of yoga. Anxiety relief, not only in the moment during class, but lasting, and also learning the skills and the techniques to bring into your life so that when you're feeling anxious, you don't have to wait for yoga class. You've got something in your back pocket that you can pull out that you've learned in your yoga class and that you can practice with. So sleep, anxiety, digestion, another thing that people don't often think of, but that a regular yoga practice can improve your digestion. And then the last two that I'll talk about are a bit more nebulous, not as sort of concrete and specific. One of them is being a nicer person. And it might sound kind of strange because it's like, how does yoga make me a nicer person? And I know I have experienced this in my own life. So when you take the time out for yourself regularly on a scheduled basis for self-care, and you recharge your batteries and you rest and you heal and you calm your nervous system, then you're more able to be present to tough situations in your life. Whether that tough situation is your child asking you a question over and over and over again on repeat, whether that tough situation is somebody who just cut you off in traffic, whether that tough situation is dealing with friends or family, or work stuff. So when we have a place of feeling more resourced within ourselves, and again, this is a bit nebulous, but when we feel more calm, more grounded, then we have more patience and presence and energy for those that we love, for our communities, and for the whole world at large. And so in this way, yoga can make you a nicer person. Not only because we want to be nice people, but because you are coming from a place of calm and groundedness, and you have the skills to use in tough situations. So this is another huge benefit from yoga practice that most people do not talk about. And then the last thing I'll talk about as far as yoga goes, and this is for classes, not so much if you're practicing on your own, is community. Especially during COVID times, so many of us for a while there were just really cut off from the world. Literally, we were all in our homes at the beginning, and then even when we kind of could start coming back, there may be people you haven't seen in years, people that you miss, just kind of regular events in community didn't happen for so long. I remember one of my students saying that, and this is when, and depending on where you live, this may or may not be the case, but saying that was the only time that she saw people she didn't know very well without masks on, was in our Zoom classes, and how much that meant to her to be able to see people's smiles. And then, my students get to know each other because every week we log on and we share a little bit about how we're doing. And, we get to see each other's pets and people get to know each other. And there's a real sense of community that can be done online in a Zoom class that I wouldn't have thought of in the past. I did notice that in my in-person classes, of course, especially with a registered semester, it's the same people over and over and over again. But it also happens on Zoom because we do take that first few minutes before class start time to connect. I usually get people to let me know how they're doing, where they're coming in from, if there's anything they want to add to the practice. And so in that sharing and that open time, we build community. So those are some of the things that you might not have thought of that are benefits to a regular yoga practice. So of course we already knew about flexibility and strength, and maybe we knew about relieving persistent pain, maybe. And then there's that sense of calm that can come from yoga. But there's also an improvement of sleep, anxiety relief, improved digestion, becoming a nicer person because you have the resources within yourself, because you've scheduled this regular time for you. and then community. Some of the less known and talked about aspects of regular yoga practice. The hard part for most of us as modern peoples, myself included, even as a yoga teacher, is how do we actually make the time for regular yoga practice? Because we're busy. And first, I just want to say that we're all a different degree of busy, right? Some of us are very, very busy. Some of us just think we're very busy, but actually there's a whole bunch of time in our schedule. We're just not sort of being strategic with our schedule. One of the things that a business mentor of mine said years ago when I was in her program, Marie Forleo had said, if it ain't scheduled, it ain't real. Meaning, if it is not in your day timer, it will not happen. We cannot intend to do yoga. We cannot hope we remember to do yoga. It doesn't work that way. It has to be in your schedule. So one of the ways to do that is to come to a regular Zoom class, because they are pre-scheduled semesters for weeks at a time. And right from my scheduler, you can immediately click a button to add it to your calendar. You could even set a reminder if you want, and you get a reminder 24 hours before. And then what happens is you just start to know, oh, right, on Tuesday at this time, it's yoga time. And so you don't schedule other things, just like you wouldn't if you had a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment or anything else. You just start to know, this is my time to do yoga and to practice. And one of the great things about Zoom classes is that this makes this more available, because you don't have to worry about driving and parking and then driving back and all those things. Even especially for those of you that are mamas, if you're parenting with a partner, your partner can kind of take care of the kids while you sneak your yoga in the living room or in the guest bedroom. If you're not partnered, if you're a single parent or a lone parent, unless your children are very small, there's ways to kind of like put a movie on for them in the other room and then sneak into the bedroom and do some yoga. And this is just a way that yoga can become available for those of you that there's just no way you would get to a studio. There's no way you'd be able to get a sitter, get in the car, drive there, do the class, drive back. The expense and the time would just be too much. But when you can just slip in the other room and do some practice, it makes a big difference. So from my experience, the students that actually put it in their schedule and show up and commit to themselves that they're going to be there are the ones that experience these benefits. Because of course you'll experience benefits even just from one class, but if you want lasting benefits from yoga, it needs to be practiced regularly. And this is something that we sometimes forget about, and we get a little, sort of cocky about, especially when we've been doing yoga for a while. Sometimes we forget how hard life was before yoga. We forget about the tight spots and the sore spots and the nervous system dysregulation and all the things. And this usually happens when someone's been doing it for a while, because they start to feel so good that it's like they've forgotten what it was like way back when they didn't have yoga as a practice. And if that sounds like you, and you've fallen off of your yoga practice, yoga is always waiting for you with open arms. You can come back anytime. There's never any judgment on the part of yoga. You are always welcome to come back. Come back to your practice, to come back to yourself, to take this time for self-care. So that's what was on my mind today while I was sitting on the beach. I was just thinking about all of the benefits of yoga practice that are far beyond flexible hamstrings, that are far beyond just getting a good stretch. There's so much more to this practice. So I hope that you're doing well. If this resonates with you and you're like, ooh, yeah, I definitely need some regular time to get on my mat and to do all of those things that Nick just mentioned. And you haven't joined me for a Zoom class, I would love it if you'd join us. I'll leave information below. If you have done Zoom classes with me and you've kind of either fallen off the wagon, like you haven't done it in a semester or two, and now you're missing it, welcome back. Come back anytime you're ready. And for those of you that have kind of signed up for classes but haven't really been showing up and just doing the recording, or maybe not doing the recording, intending to do the recording but not doing the recording because, again, it's not in your schedule, as an appointment that you commit to being there for, you are also welcome back. Just come live. Yeah. Sometimes we have to miss a class because life happens. We'll get the recording for a few days after class, but you're going to get way more from it if you show up live because the classes are custom. I create the classes custom according to who's there in front of me. So I hope that you are doing well, and I hope that you take some time for these regular practices because you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot help your family, your community, your loved ones. You can't be present if you don't have the tools and the skills that you need to feel well. And yoga helps us feel well. Yoga makes life better. So if you have questions, of course, you can email me, reply to this, and I will come back. I will get back to you. But I just wanted to mention that some of the things that we don't think about when it comes to yoga practice. All right, y'all. I'm going to give you one more shot of the beach, and then I'm going to call it a day. All right, friends, be well. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I hope to see you either in person if you're local or in the Zoom room for some regular yoga practice soon.